in terms of some of the things. Oh, we're going on an adventure.
Sorry.
It's a crucial adventure. Hello, we've got a visitor. Hello, everyone. Nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. And today you might recognize him if you've been watching the channel since the start, because he was there at the start. A returning content creator to Raid. It's Fastidious. How's it going, dude?
It's going great. This is very cool. I looked back. Our last collab was in January 2022.
It's like time flies, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
It's kind of shocking to think it has been.
I
that
was there
long.
for the baby nub days, so it's really cool. I just returned to Raid about 2.5 weeks ago. Started a new channel focusing on Raid, and I mean I've kept an eye on you, and like it's really cool to see that you're a beast now. I mean you're always amazing, but you're one of the kings now. It's cool.
Yeah. So guys, anyone in the comments, make sure obviously jump down. You'll find Fastidious, his channel, his Raid channel, linked in the title, in the description, and all of that. Let us know in the comments if any of you were watching back then and remember the original collab, or if you go back and watch it. I never go back and rewatch old stuff. I'm too embarrassed. But you could go back and watch
I rewatched about 20 seconds of our very last video. Can you at all remember what it was?
No,
It was
no
a different
clue.
game.
Which one?
It was the best elites, which is like the equivalent to rares in Awaken Chaos era.
Dude, yeah.
if that puts a date on us.
I remember that game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the thing about that game. We're going to talk actually, but the topic of this video is going to be again, Fastidious. You've been covering. You're one of the biggest channels, if not the biggest. I don't know actually which is the biggest. Maybe you are. Are you? For Watcher of Realms, big channel anyway.
I don't want to be. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. There we go. Biggest channel for Watcher.
Watcher is this much smaller pond than Raid, but I'm lucky to have some success there.
Yeah. So that's again another. I know like Hades played it for a chunk, etc. I think it's been a very well received gacha game. So you are the king of that pond. So yeah, you've got a ton of experience with other gacha games. Awaken Chaos Hero, we just mentioned as well. With the old Experience Jelly, I remember that.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Oh, is it dead now? I haven't followed it since. But anyway.
I gave up on it quick.
But no, I wanted to get your take as a returning player. In terms of Raid, coming back to Raid after, almost a 3-year absence, what is the game doing well? What is the game not doing well compared to, other more modern games like Watcher of Realms and more recent gacha? How does it compare? I'm very curious. I wrote down my list of things I think Raid does really well and then not so well. And I'm curious if there'll be any overlap or if I'm like really out of tune with the returning player mindset. I'm curious. So
sure. Should we hop right in?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's start with the good. Let's say something that Raid does well.
Maybe should we alternate? Should we go good, bad, good?
Yeah,
bad,
good, bad, good, bad. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will say, I feel like especially some people when they go to another game have like a lot of negativity about Raid. That was never me, but undeniably, certain things are jarring when you come back and you're like, wow, it's still like that, huh?
Yeah.
But some things are amazing, like they really are. And I'm gonna give the biggest shout out to the epics. Ooh, that is something I've never seen. The quality of epic champions and the usability, the viability of epic champions in this game, I really do find to be on just quantity and quality is on another level than any other gacha game I've ever played, whether you call it an epic or a base 4-star or whatever the terminology is in that game. Coming back, they gave me like my new player download link, and one of the 4 champions was Tagore. I'd never even heard of him, and I'm like, oh, he must be the throwaway guy, and he's a superstar. I know he's with the Hell Hades link as well for the free to play challenge. So like just one example off the top of my head who instantly transformed my account. And I keep clicking on the epics when I do my arena battles. I click on every champion I don't know, because back in the day, I was a huge Raid nerd and knew every single champion, probably knew the base stats and stuff. Obviously, it's doubled the quantity now. So I'm trying to reintroduce myself, and I'm consistently impressed by how usable a lot of them are. They're not just throwaway characters, and also how many there are. They've kept adding them. A huge issue, in my opinion, in Watcher, it's actually very funny we're filming today. We had a normal epic come out. So the equivalent of like a non-void epic and a non-lord. We have lords. You guys kind of took that with the faction unity.
Okay,
it's like kind of a parallel. But the first normal non-lord epic we've had added in 10 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is a different kind of game. We get many more summons, many more legendaries, but it's driven me insane as like, I built my whole brand and everything around free to play, even though I've departed from that in my return to Raid, if people are interested. But yeah, coming back, I think epics are the lifeblood of these hero collector, grindy, dungeon crawlery gacha games. and Raid does it better than any game I've seen. So yeah, Maneater, what a homie. Love that guy.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect example. So I started seeing Skrank on all these clan boss teams. I've never heard of him, and then I started seeing him, and then I clicked through the kit, and I did a video with YST, and it's unbelievable how good this guy is, and he just seems one of many really strong ones they've continued to add, and I'm very impressed by it. I think that's a really strong thing Raid has on other games that I've played.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. That's not something I would have thought of. Yeah, that's cool. Very cool. Yeah, it is. Now I think about it, it is something to do pretty well. I mean, there definitely are fillers. Like, I mean, this red guy, he's absolutely terrible. You know, there are filler ones, but yeah, like they even rework some epics. Like this one, Tashada, she was reworked to be a reviver. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so someone just told me about that too. So that was when I left. She sucked, and like she's apparently good now. And I know for the quantity of champions in Raid, you can't buff everyone that is dog water, but they at least do a little bit. So there have been little ones. I'm like, wait, is this? I'm like streaming, and I'm like, chat, is this guy good now? And they're like, oh yeah, it's good now. Yeah, that's good.
That's sick. That's sick. Yeah, cool. All right, that's really interesting. Okay, you want to hit us then with something that's negative?
Oh, you're not gonna go? I gotta go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we can compare the stuff at the. Well, I could tell you my number one thing that I put in as something I enjoy, and I'm curious.
Maybe you're right. Maybe I need let's throw a little water on this, cool it down. Let's go negative.
Sure.
Should we start with the spiciest thing we just chatted about before the call?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Click on Kale in the index for me.
Okay.
Guys, I'm not saying the design in Raid is bad. I'm not saying the aesthetic in Raid is bad. I will die on the hill and you can hate me for it. The graphics in Raid are bad. They've become bad. Kale has ropes for hair. They look like Minecraft graphics. Like when I played Raid and started playing in 2019, I was pretty blown away that this was a mobile game. It's 6+ years later since then, right? I just think the design's great, the aesthetic's great. Like the Raid has stood the test of time for a reason. But especially, I mean, actually, even if you look at Dark Kale or Supreme Kale, I think that's Supreme Kale especially. I think that's enough. If normal Kale had this level of definition, not this level of accoutrement and like special ornamentation, just looking that crisp, I think it would make the biggest difference for the new player experience. The first thing you do is you watch Elaine get eaten and Skullcrusher get the arrow through the eye, this, that, and the other. Then you got to pick your, choose your hero. And you choose Kale, and he looks, in my opinion, he looks terrible for 2025. This is one example. Yeah. I'm blown away consistently by the renders on some of these characters in the wrong way. I'm blown in the wrong way.
Yeah. Like one thing I think certainly for Kale, like the staff, the hand with the staff, that's shocking, isn't it? It's just randomly slipping through, man. Yeah, that's funny. Like, yeah, again, this is something that I would not really have thought of. Like, I think design-wise, Kale's, especially for a rare, I think is sort of fine.
He looks, but design aesthetic,
the graphics of it, they're definitely older. I think it's definitely true. I don't think they've ever updated graphically. I mean, there's skins, and his skin is actually quite nice, but
actually, I don't know if I've seen it. Yeah, so right there. I mean,
it looks so much better. Yeah.
We're transported like 4 years at least into the future.
Yeah. But
we went from PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3.
There you go. Maybe they should go back, certainly for the starter champs, or I think Arbiter as well. Again, she's got a cool design, but she is she looks old, right? Again, it's just a bit muddy.
Totally.
Compared to newer champions. Like if we compare her to, let's say, Galathyr, who's new, like there's just another level of detail and whatnot going on there. That's
interestingly, I think they've been consistent with like very high-end designs on not every character, but lots of the champions in this game. Yeah, from Arbiter to new ones. But yeah, I think I'm not saying go through every rare, every uncommon, every old epic and make them all look good, but like the key ones that are gonna like be the ones players stare at all the time when you're trying to get people to spend ungodly sums of money on your game. I do think it would make a pretty major difference. It's too bad. I'll DM you if I can find it. I was doing my thing where I click on a character I don't know, and there was actually a new champion that I fought in the arena, and he had like chains. I'll try to find it and I'll send it to you. And they were like 2D printed onto his chest, like
right.
And it was one I didn't know, so it has to be at the oldest 2.5 or 3 years old. So I just think the little things like that, they're using Unity, right? Like it can't be that hard to improve. I think given they're still making money hand over fist, right? Oh. That's why they're able to bring me back.
Yeah, exactly. A huge amount of money. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I wonder, it's got to be so much work to go back and actually remodel. Like Tomb Lord looks dreadful, for example. to,
Oh
to
my
go
god.
back and remodel these old
Let me get
guys
my
with
glasses.
yeah, it's a
He's
lot of work.
blurry.
Like they're probably just going to release news because, like, yeah, I mean, you can see you compare Mad Hatter to Tomb Lord, they're right beside each
Yeah.
other, and like it looks like two different games. Yeah, it's crazy. That is crazy. I wonder. I think
Yeah, look
certainly.
at the Cheshire Cat compared
Oh,
to
he's cool.
like
Yeah.
any hero, any champion from when I played, and it's like how not everyone needs to look like this, but it's a different game. Like now we're at
Mm.
PS4 all of a sudden.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely going back and redoing the key champions, like you
Key
said, the
champions.
arbiters. I think Seal of the Drakes actually probably still looks really good. Maybe I'm wrong about that. She needs a buff gameplay wise, but like when you consider this is an old champion, she looks.
Yeah.
I think she looks really good.
The hair kills me every time, I'm gonna be honest.
The
But she
hair,
does look pretty great.
yeah, you can see the hair bending and
And
stuff.
the
Yeah.
design is she's still as cool as I remember her looking. I
Mm.
can't find the exact one I was thinking of, but if you want to go very quickly to the point I was trying to make, the dwarves. This guy
Ah.
must be new-ish because I don't know him. Goffred
Oh,
Brassclad.
yeah, he's pretty
Like
ugly.
these are like printed on, and this is actually not as
Yeah,
bad as the example I was thinking of, but like this
it's
is
pretty bad.
crazy. And if you even go to the same faction, if you go to Kira the Watcher,
Yeah.
like she looks about 7 times better than him,
Oh
I'd
yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just weird.
No, I 100% agree. Goffred, I remember even thinking when he came out, I was like, man, this guy looks pretty bad. Poor Goffred. And he's just sort of wavering around like he's drunk. I don't know what's going on with him. It's a weird one. Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay. Well, interesting. I touched on a couple of things when I was thinking about some of the bad stuff because a couple of mine overlap with that. I think I hadn't really thought about the older graphics of the characters. I do think the character designs visually are quite good. The artistic vision is very strong in
Totally.
Raid, I think. Um, One thing I think is lacking, I don't know if you've got any voice acting in Watcher of Realms, because, these games have so many characters, but you go and you play gacha games, which have much smaller casts, and they have like voices for the characters and voice lines and customized animations. That's something that when you play other games and come back to Raid and like people are just sort of standing there and like they run up and just hit someone with the sword and run back on so many champions. I'm like, oh, that actually looks kind of bad. And none of them obviously have any voices. That's something that struck me from playing again more the anime style games where they've got a much smaller cast and they're
Yeah.
much higher quality. I was like, oh, coming back to Raid when before it was like this pinnacle of character design. I was like, oh, well, they don't have really. There's a couple of custom animations, but there's a lot of kind of just repeated stuff. I don't know if you found that from coming from Watchers or if it's a very
No, I
similar
think
thing
that's a
there.
really interesting point. So I always play these games with sound off, always, and I'll
Yeah,
just listen to music
right.
or I'll just stream with no sound. I like exclusively.
Mm.
However, Watcher does have voice lines for every single character,
Oh wow.
every hero. I know some people are really into it, some people aren't. I've had no experience with it. One
Yeah.
thing I will say that Watcher has that Raid's stolen or borrowed, which I love. A few things from Watcher recently, like your relics are artifacts. The faction unity, like Watchers, all built around lords, which is the similar idea. I
Mm,
really
mm.
like seeing that stuff, and I think they should keep taking more. A very cool thing is, I wish it was for every legendary or legendary lord hero in the game, which would be the equivalent of like mythicals and legendaries in Raid. But when you summon them, there's like a cinematic. Even a few
Oh yeah.
epics have it.
Hmm.
And those I do think add so much hype. If anyone was interested to go to my other channel, you can see I have an editor specifically just for summoning videos. Everything else I edit myself. And he makes it go so hard, man. Like if you cut that up and you've got like a real proper edit, like you in the hype,
Mm.
of like you finally get that one you're looking for. Like I don't know who you're hunting, but imagine someone's hunting. Apparently Duchess fell off, but someone like a Duchess back in my day, and then she comes and like it's like a cut scene of her walking out. She puts the staff down, she flies up. This then it's kind of like that, and it is pretty special. I think it'd be very hard to introduce something like that into Raid,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
do think that might be something lagging. If I can take a slight pivot, this was an honorable mention.
Mm.
The run up animation is very weird coming back to.
When they run,
That
like when you summon them and they
when
run
you're
forwards.
well, that's hilarious. Like in between rounds in wave
Oh
content,
yeah, when
like
they
where they
run.
like
Yeah.
do their little stutter step. That's very funny.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that. I think it's cute. No, but like when you're in a battle and it's like not a range skill and they run up and they do
Yeah.
it and they run back, it feels like I feel like when they created it, they're like, oh, this is immersive. And
Yeah.
that's not what's happening for me. I'm just like, yeah, Ugos, just stand still and save me a second. That's how I'm always
Yeah.
feeling.
Yeah, some of it makes sense, and then some of them definitely look weird. They definitely look weird. I feel like when they run up, and like, yeah, it could be a lot cool. And like, there's not a ton of variety, like leaping forward and doing stuff. Some of them do, like Garald does a big leap, I think, the mythical. But there's a lot of champs that just kind of run up, bonk, and walk back. Yeah, it looks a bit funky
Yeah.
sometimes. Cool. Okay.
The
Well,
ones where it like works in the kit, it's so cool. Like I remember an OG fusion from my day was the what's his name? Skull Lord. I'm going to Lizardman right
oh
now.
Lord Vargal. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and he shoots those like tentacles out like
Yeah.
for his AoE. I thought that was so cool. But then on the same on the same token, the other side of the coin, when someone like that is looking so cool, and then someone else is just kind of running up and doing that and running back, it is kind of jarring the that dichotomy or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we hit a couple of negatives. Let's go back to some positives.
Oh
What's
yeah.
your next positive thing?
So here's something Raid as. I mean, this can be a quick chat, but like
Hmm.
the game's old, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And there's just so much stuff. There's some negatives to that. I think as a new player, returning player, it is overwhelming. But at the end of the day, we want content, and holy moly, like there's so much content. Like
This is on my
and
list. Yeah.
like yeah, I think some people that play the game a lot probably would say too much, but at the end of the day, you always want more, and it's really giving you more. And I think that is the virtue of it being a long running game with a lot of success. I think it's really impressive coming back. I still haven't figured out who the Shogun is. I just unlocked him.
Okay.
Sand Devil was added right when I stopped playing. But then you've got this Cursed City now. You've got the Siege. You've got a brand new clan boss with the Chimera. I'm like coming back. I'm like, wow, okay, I'm gonna be entertained for a very long time. So I think it's very impressive.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's one of the big strengths of the game, that it's like, what am I doing this for? Why am I collecting these characters? Not only is there existing a crazy amount of content, but you also know they're going to keep releasing a crazy amount of content as well. I think that's really important. Like it can be very off-putting. You go into a gacha game and like, will there actually be anything new in like 6 months, or is that it? With Raid, because it's got the pedigree, right? It's been around for so long and it's been such a success. It's like, yeah, it's gonna be around for ages. I know you get comments saying the game's dead. It's just about to die.
Game's not dead.
And it's like, yeah, okay, that's nice, but realistically, this is going another 5 to 10 years at least, right? At least.
I think a lot of players and viewers don't understand what it takes for a game to die. Like,
oh yeah,
people say Genshin Impact is dead. I mean, just to give you perspective. I mean, like, yeah, it's not like the global sensation to end all pandemic global sensations, but it's the least dead game imaginable, right?
Yeah.
I'd say Raid is like, step down from that, but it's the same idea. I mean, once you're hitting 5 years, it's going to take so much to not go another 5 years, right?
Yeah, exactly. 100%.
Yeah, like people say Summoner's Wars fell off. It's like, all right, buddy. Okay, sure.
Nice. But yeah, that was exactly what I had on my list, was just the sheer amount of content in the game. Yeah, and that's hard to compete with, I think, as well. Like for a new game, like it's content that's been built up over years. My goodness, to have something to compete directly with it, with as much stuff to do, like you can't really do that as a brand new game.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll say negative with Watcher is like they do release a lot of heroes, and they actually release content, especially for a new game, about as fast as any game I've played. But because they release so many heroes, we reached the point months ago where you could already beat all the content in the game. So it's like some of the new heroes are amazing, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, but just remember, we could already beat everything 6 months ago. Like, so like it's hard to say you need this character. Whereas I think with Raid, there's enough unique problems to solve, and there's just such diversity of content that there's like it's a wider pool of heroes you can get excited about, especially as long as you're not like a super Kraken endgame player.
Yeah.
Like I would think even in an account like yours, I'm seeing 36 million power. I bet you there's still a pretty decent list of champions you could get pretty stoked about.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So many.
Yeah.
For me, it'd be mostly like Void legendaries, mythicals, faction unity. They're sort of the three big ones. And that's actually, I guess, one of my points from my list of positives is I think the characters in Raid are designed really well. And some people might find it off-putting. There's a lot more complexity now in the game. You were mentioning the faction unities being similar to Lords from Watcher of Realms. But yeah, like these are like complicated kits. There's a lot going on. I think there's a ton of fun in terms of building the characters, working out how to use their skills, putting them into teams, putting those teams into content. It's something that, when new stuff comes out, it's generally, I think, really enjoyable. And some of the fusions are hit or miss, but generally it's like some of the free legendaries are hit or miss, but it's like there will be a constant influx of new characters that are actually
Yeah.
genuinely very interesting to play with, which I think is probably the core. I mean, you were saying in Watchers, even if there isn't new content, you can still sometimes get away with that. Sometimes if the characters themselves are just, engaging and fun to play with, because it is a collector at the end of the day. I don't know how you find the character designs coming back. I know Watcher, it's not like sort of tower defensey type stuff in there. It's quite different, is it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, Watcher very much, it obviously borrowed a ton from Raid and Summoner's War as well, but kind of put it, if anyone's played Arknights, it's kind of combining the hero building with Arknights. So like the Raid Summoner's War with Arknights. So if like I loved Arknights, but it was like cool puzzles, cool maps. There's no gear, there's no artifacts, there's nothing like that, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So Watcher's awesome with that, but the thing is, if you're good at solving puzzles, you can solve it with a lot less. So that's definitely different. I definitely am probably a little more inclined to enjoy the tower defense than the turn base, but I would say kind of what you touched on, the complexity and the uniqueness and variety of kits that Raid has. It was something when I left I loved, and coming back I already love again. I think they could make some of these kits more readable, that you don't have to go watch my video or Nubraid's video or YST or something to understand what the heck is going on. Like like the fact that Loki is a promo code character.
Yeah,
he's your first character, like you're gonna get him on day 1 or 2 or 3, like 72 hours. Yeah. And he is the most confusing novel I've read since college, basically. So yeah.
I remember thinking about that when they released him. I was like, this is for a free character. This guy he's got a lot going on. Yeah, probably too much. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Okay.
Actually is, can we stay positive? Because that's a really good pivot into my final positive I want to touch on. This is what Raid is like king at, in my opinion. Okay. Like full stop. I've talked to the developers of Watcher Realms about this, using Raid as an example. And that is like the gear sets, the variety of gear sets. So in Watcher, it kind of comes down to gear sets give damage or they give stats or like a healing boost. Like some kind of like the thing you do it more, extra, increase it, or let me give you some stats. Yeah. Whereas like, yes, you have some boring ass sets in Raid, right? Sure. Life. You could even argue something. Well, actually, no, you couldn't. It's speed. It just gives you speed. I mean, right? Boring. But then the fact that like a stun set exists, the fact that a destroy set exists, and fundamentally you are getting that character customization experience, designing a character for like content it wasn't made for, but you were creative enough, or you were able to use the tools they gave you well enough to still conquer. That's it's a whole nother level. The 90 sets, it's insane, and it's cool, but it's insane. That was crazy to come back to. But just something as simple as like a days set. It might seem, I'm sure it's still not meta. I'm guessing days is still kind of meta. But the fact that it's like, hey, like now my character that didn't have crowd control has like a lame crowd control. That is something. A regen set. It's like, oh, I can solo this now because my build's good enough and this guy's sustaining himself, right? Like stuff like that is it's more unique than it should be in the genre. Yeah, it's basically what I'm getting at.
I agree. In fact, I can reveal my list. The 3 things I had that were good. Oh, of course, then I'm not revealing it. There we go. But these were the 3 great things I had written down. Number 1, the amount of content. I thought the character design, but gearing. Oh no! Spoilers for your collab on your channel. Whoops. Gearing. Yeah, I thought that was something that's super fun in this game. I think that blessings for me have been a bit of a disappointment, but I actually really, really like this relic system where you're upgrading these relics over time, and then they're character agnostic. You can move them if you want to. I think that's really cool. But yeah, like just again the variety of gear sets, especially with the variables, it's so complex. You can customize your character so much. Like if I talk about if I look at Lazarius, there's a million different ways I could build him. I can build him for damage. I can build him for speed. I can build him as a buffer and 9-piece protection set for some bosses. I've got him in stone skin here for arena. Like there's so much you can do. And I think that adds a ton of complexity and longevity to the game. So yeah. There we go. What did you have anything negative then to end on as well?
Well, just quickly to put a bow on that from my end, I really, really love that. And I'm lucky to have a very successful website, which I'm just starting to put Raid content out on now, and we'll have some tools, not just side tools. It's not going to compete with the Hell Hades amazing site. But
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Watcher, I do have kind of everything on my website, right? And people really appreciate it. It's totally free, all that stuff. But a complaint I always get is, wow, like on my build section that I have for every hero in the game, they're like, it's kind of very similar. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, it kind of is. Like, it's
Yeah.
not like an oversight on my part. It's just like, yeah, this kind of hero gets that set. This kind of hero gets that set. There's a clear meta set. There's not really diversity of builds, right? Like there's not like oh, here's the funky, interesting way to do it. Whereas like even a hero like Bellower, right? You can build him like 3 ways right out of the gate. So it's just that is non-existent in Watcher and actually many, many games I've played. So
Yeah.
really, I say that for last because to me, that's the thing that Raid is like. It blows me away with, and they've done even better coming back. I love these One Piece sets and stuff like that. Obviously, it goes up to 9, but really cool.
Cool, very good. All right, for my I can bang out my negative one. Again, we touched on this through the graphics. I picked the animations and I mentioned the audio. One thing I think they do pretty bad that I think other gachas do better is the rewards, and specifically things from like promo codes and events. There's some good ones, but then you get a lot of events where it's like, God, the rewards are just absolutely terrible. Like it feels like it's kind of filler. Whereas I feel like in other games that I've played, the events are often something to get really hyped up about. Even just like the boring filler ones, you're like, ooh, but I'm getting a ton of stuff from doing it. That's kind of nice. I don't know if that's something that you agree with or not, coming back as a returning player.
Yeah, the rewards couldn't be worse. It's honestly, it's pathetic. Like, I'll be brutal. Like, Watcher, like per player makes as much money, if not more money than Raid. And Watcher's, I would say about 20 times more generous.
Yeah.
Like free to play end game, not counting the fact that I get as a content creator, the content creator awards are too generous. Like I'm talking about the equivalent of 50,000 gems a month, basically. It's ridiculous. But I will say not that, just free to play, right? I get 80 summons a week.
Oh,
something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, damn. Yeah, that's crazy.
I can save between 5 and 10, the equivalent of sacreds. It's a different model, right? I'm not saying Raid has to go foot on the gas like that, but like, wow, like there's an event at least once a week, usually twice a week, that from any mid to late to end game player will get to 6,000 points, which is the halfway point, where essentially you get 2 voids. For us, they're called ancients, which is always weird for people going between games. Ancients are our special thing, but that's 4 a week solid, like just from a very easy equivalent of like a dungeon divers. So coming to this, where like I've spent $75, that's like the whole premise of this series I'm doing, and I'm at 5 voids right now, and I did 5 voids during the 2x. So that means I've saved 10, including the 3 I bought. So I've only actually gotten 7 in 20 whatever days. Or no, I'm not 20 days, 16 days. I mean, that's people might be like, well, you're only on day 16. To me, it's jarring coming back. I mean, I'll tell you with my ancients, I've done exactly 51 ancient summons. So I've gotten 51 ancients with 3 to 4 hours of gameplay for 16 straight days. And that is unbelievable. My Watcher account, we're doing a challenge series right now through my website, kind of similar to what you guys are doing, with a couple different extra restrictions. But in that, I've already done over 700 summons, and today's day 20, so I haven't even played yet today. So in 19 days, I did like 720 summons. So it doesn't need to be like that. Obviously, it's free to play too. So, but there's such a happy in between. Sometimes I feel like Watcher's too generous, but oh my God, coming to this and people are getting hyped up that like, wow, if I get 4,000 points, I'll get 1 void, and I'm like, oh my God.
yeah. Some of I do feel like they're crazy sometimes, and like some of the promo codes, like we get like some CC challenges you can take part in, and like, oh, we get promo codes for the audience. I'm like, it's better than nothing, but like sometimes you're like, guys, can we not like 10 times this? Like why the hell not? It's Christmas, let's go.
So many games have proven you will make as much money, if not more money, by being at least a little more generous than this. I mean, like Wuthering Waves or Genshin Impact or Honkai Star Rail, to name much bigger games, or smaller games like Watcher Realms, are making as much money per players. I mean, clearly they know what they're doing to some extent, but I do think some people get brainwashed to be like, this whole cat's gaze thing going on. It's like, ooh, I get this for free. I'm like, bitch, you have to get all 4 or 5 characters. You didn't get anything for free. Like you used all your resources, or you spent a ton of money. I'm talking about the reward for getting all the Alice characters.
Yeah.
They kind of I saw multiple content creators being like, "It's free." It's like, yes, it's a sure. It's like the same way this Queen of Knave for the champ chase is free. It's like, go get that for free, buddy.
yeah. Good luck. Good luck. I will say, I do feel, mentioning the cat's gaze, I feel like the relics have actually been pretty decent. I don't know, like again, just this is more for late game player, but I feel like they
Yeah.
actually gave away like a lot of the relic resources in events. Whereas, I mean, I brought up a couple events up here before. It was like 100k silver. It's like that's like what's the point? That you could just ignore this apart from the fusion thing, and it's like it's
Yeah.
basically non-existent. I feel like the relic rewards have been okay, but I mean,
Yeah, and
guys,
I don't want to. I don't want people to misinterpret me. I was saying specifically that
oh,
thing that people have been talking about now that
I
the
agree, yeah.
Cheshire Cat's on right up. That's like, hey, if you get all, what is it, 4 or 5? And I'm like, get
It's if you
all
get
of
all
them. I
five,
mean,
yeah. They've done it
yeah,
before. It is
get all.
it's better than ones they did before. They've done it before with other events, and it's like shockingly bad. This one, I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, there's actually some good stuff in there, but nonetheless, to actually collect all 5 champions, you basically have to spend a crazy amount of money. Like it's
yeah,
effectively impossible. Or well, it's not impossible, but the chances are vanishingly small that you get it free to
yeah,
play. Like I'm sort of a mid spend, I suppose, and I think I've got two or three of them.
yeah.
Two, I think I've got two. So I still have three to
I
go. I
love
mean,
the
there's a week or two
existence
left,
of
but
it. Like reward the biggest spenders. I'm all for like
mm,
I've been free to play forever, and now I'm on this like moderate budget for raid or whatever you want to call it. But
mm.
like if you can afford it, assuming the huge caveat it's within your means, and you want to spend, do it. You're making the game playable for everyone. I love that, and I love that they get rewarded. But I've just seen people pitching it as like this free bonus, and I'm like, my man, my god.
Yeah, I like it. Spicy take at the end, but it's true. Yeah, it's true. But listen, I think that's enough for this video. We are going to jump over, guys, to Fastidious's channel, and we're going to be chatting about. I think it's like basically strategies to focus on, like as a new player, kind of new things since you played the game that are like genuinely really important to do. And I know for a fact that not everyone in my I'm going to even say a couple of things that I don't even do all the time, but I should be doing that can add up to
Okay.
a huge difference. So hopefully it'll be an interesting discussion. But yeah, anything you want to say, Fastidious, before we wrap up today's video?
No, it was an absolute pleasure. I mean, it was fun. Like I went to the gym, hopped out of the shower, and my girlfriend asked me what I was gonna do if I want to have breakfast. I was like, no, remember nub braids? Like we've been together forever. And she's like, oh my God, the Irish guy.
Ah, that's gas. That's so funny.
Yeah, so it's like crazy. It's like kind of like being a little time portal for me right now. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's been a blast, man. I'm excited to film the other video, and yeah, thank you for having me.
That's cool. You know, before we record this, I was just down in the sitting room. My girlfriend's playing some Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which I got her. It's a great game, old game, but great. And she's like, "Where are you going at like 5:30 in the afternoon?" It's like I've got a collab with Fastidious, from years ago. So there you go. Small
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
Exact same thing. All right, cool, guys. You'll find a link down below to go check out the collab on Fastidious's channel. That's a hard name to say fast, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for joining me. It's been a blast, and yeah, we'll see you guys very, very soon. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.